Welcome to my Sorare Journey, episode 106, where today I answer the question, should you pay 1000 Essence to enter the Arena Elite competition? No, you probably shouldn't. Why? Well, it's 1000 Essence, you're probably going to be playing against the best players on the game, and there's so much luck involved. You know, you go from a game on Sorare where you can never really lose. Yes, players can go down in value, but you lose nothing, to the actual chance to lose something. So why did I enter a team, and why am I looking down the barrel of a gun? Well, like I said, you get some very good players in here. So the question might be, why did you enter? Well, because it's fun. That's what we're trying to do here. I mean, ultimately, playing against 10 people in the international competition is far better for me in terms of enjoyment than playing in All-Star. I don't know how many players are in All-Star. I don't even know how to see it if I haven't got a team entered. But yeah, it basically came down to fun. I didn't get in the lucky golden arena where rewards are boosted, but I am only playing 9 people, so my odds have slightly increased. It was good to see, playing someone I don't really have that experience. Know a few names here. Obviously, Harry does content as well on Sorare, has for a long time. But playing a guy like him is just absolutely ridiculous. 97th minute, this guy scores a penalty. That's the sort of luck you're playing against here. And if you've been watching the journey this season, my luck has not been in. So when you're looking at Jury and Timber and you're seeing on Sorare Inside, we're actually on the wrong game week here. When you go to the Netherlands, Portugal on the correct week, you can see no guaranteed starter, of course, but 60%. And he's got beaten out by the 220% in the terms of Van de Ven. Now, not too annoyed by this because you are taking a 60% gamble. The other guys are starting. Ultimately, I have a really strong squad here. That was one of the reasons I entered. It was fun and I had a strong squad. My score actually added, in terms of the cap, 260 exactly. I thought it was kind of a sign. It was like sort of the only players I could play here, and it added exactly to the points cap. But I knew I'd probably be facing down the barrel of a gun because Timber at 60% isn't great, and it's who you're playing against. Now, when you're entering that much, obviously, in order to get 1000 Essence and be able to gamble it, it's gonna be a few people. It's not gonna be everyone on the game. It's gonna be a very narrow player base. And then on top of that, the key part is I was doing it in internationals where I pay no attention to internationals. I pretty much just play the Premier League in season and a bit of Champ Classic, and any Champions League games or international games are just added utility. I have no check on them. Normally a team like Japan absolutely wrecks internationals, so even though that could have been possible, I had no idea the other fixtures. I just played them, and obviously you need to be playing against you need to understand if you're going to play competitively and enter 1000 and expect to win or expect a positive ROI over the long term, you need to be looking for cheap, in terms of cap, cheap low cap players that can bring out the best. Now, I'm not sure who the low cap players are, but you can just see if Bauman's going to play, then the rest of the team picks itself. I probably would have captained Dogu here, or Doku. I just don't really understand that choice. But outside of it, yeah, I think everyone's just putting in really strong players and then a cheat card that's low average and probably going to play, probably here it's Tagliafico. I have no knowledge of these. I just got lucky that my scores added up in the fact that Timber and Openda are lower average players because Timber's been out of an injury, a little bit of rotation. Openda's just a little bit of rotation as well and not been great. And I had some fixtures line up. So overall, I wasn't expecting to do much here. I obviously thought I could win because of the standard of my team. Now I'm really up against it with Timber not starting. But we hope, over the course of the next hour, he can come on and maybe perform. And outside of that, if he comes on and doesn't perform, I've got a good chance to return, positive ROI in terms of essence. If he doesn't come on, I think I'm just finished. But that would be good. We also entered another arena. Again, this was pure fun. Probably shouldn't have done it because uncapped is just the best players on the game. So this guy's probably got one of the best selections you can of De Bruyne, Van Dijk, Courtois, Kimmich, Nico Williams. Like, I've got some good fixtures as well, don't get me wrong, but much rather have that guy's players. And then again, like, we're up against Yuri Tillemans. We're basically up against my team, in the other arena. So yeah, this was quite expensive as well. I think this was $250. So I must have been feeling rich in terms of my essence because I was just willy-nilly entering these because of the fun. Like, you play All-Star. I was in Division 3 because I never play All-Star. Just so stupid. How Internationals doesn't have its own, division system. Bewildering. And then it's just not fun to play all these mega stacks in SO7. So don't regret any of my decisions, but I just thought I'd share sort of my opinion on it. And then we'll take a look at last week, and then we'll look forward into how I plan to fix the massive problems in my gallery, because I'm not winning a lot, which obviously isn't super negative. It's 2 game weeks in. You don't need to. But every season I seem to win early, and it just gives such a safety barrier to like avoiding a huge loss in value at the end of the season. So this was actually a much more positive game week in terms of mentally, because you'll remember in the last game week I had Florian Wirtz to win Division 3 and keep my hot streaks alive, and yeah, dropped a stinker. These things happen. By the way, you guys that commented on the last video, some of my nicest comments, so I just really appreciate that. I didn't reply to anyone because I was going to do a video on it, and then I thought it's probably not worth a video, a bit self-loving or whatever the word is for that. But I did really appreciate it. I wasn't in a bad way or anything, but it's just nice when you're down for people to say nice things, and a lot of you love the way I recorded it and still put it out, despite the fact it's pretty embarrassing to be like, whoa, this is going so well, and then you get like, this is going really, really, really badly. But yeah, let's talk about the teams this week, because Fernandes, it's nice to get a confidence builder. For me, it was nice to see him stay on pens. That was key. And then Wirtz, I was worried about him not really being a scorer, like a high scorer. So for him to get 54 against Arsenal, that really helps me. Salah, it's a tough fixture. The guy's one of the best cards on the game. And then Aït-Nouri, ooh, this might worry a few of you at home. I watched the game, or at least the first 60 minutes. I couldn't believe how low his score was. I thought it should have been much higher. But besides that, let's say it was scored correctly. It's just the game. If you play a wing back and you get beat, you're going to get absolutely abused on little things. Like 4 fouls is -8. Then he's going to pick up a yellow card because he's fouled 4 times. So that's another -11 you're looking at cumulatively. Included in that, you're going to lose 4 of these duels. So, when you add it all up, those tiny little fouls are just brutal. So that's why I'm watching it like, oh, he's doing good. Huge attempted assist there. It's sort of the wing back stuff. This is my strategy. I play wing backs because against weak opposition, they just dominate. And against weak opposition, you run a risk. Sometimes you can get away with tackles and winning duels, but it's more of a coin flip. So yeah, that's fine for me. Pickford conceding 2 to, bottom of the league's not great, but not awful. These things happen. So to pick up 260 essence for being 133rd with a really bad score, to me that's a bad scoring team. Like, we got the captain right, not much else right really. So happy to pick up 260 Prem essence there on a bad week. This was a weird one. It was a team I had no expectations for. Most of them are playing Chelsea. Paulinho was, surprising. It's not good, but sort of didn't expect much either. I'm sort of annoyed at myself. Let me know what you think in the comments, but obviously my main team, Division 1, had a Liverpool attack. and they were playing Raya, Arsenal's keeper. So for most of the week, I had Raya as captain, so you can sort of hedge. And then I was like, why am I hedging? You know, Liverpool are the top scoring team in the league. They're going to score like 3 goals versus anyone. Surely just captain who you think's your best player, who I thought was Paulinho, and probably was, you know, pre-kickoff. So what do you guys think of the idea of having one team and then sort of hedging with the other team, even if it's not the best idea? So I thought it was a good idea for a long time, then I switched, and then in this case actually would have been right, especially if Szoboszlai didn't, you know, rattle that ridiculous free kick in. But yeah, let me know what you think. The only 2 key decisions I really had to make this game week is because, you know, those teams sort of pick themselves, the good players, the stars are going to get in the star lineup. It was Aït-Nouri, you know, 70%, 80% likely to play coming back from injury, away to Brighton, or Michael Keane. Keane also has the benefit of stacking with Pickford, so if they kept a clean sheet, you're getting the clean sheet decisive for the goalkeeper, plus 10 points defensive action for the defender here. So, got the decision wrong, but Brighton beating Man City was a bit surprising. Tough to say, you know, Keane doesn't put up high scores. This is sort of what I talk about a lot, about attacking a game week or defending a game week. Here, since I thought I had really good fixtures, to a degree, I'll touch on that shortly, I tried to attack with a wing back, where his scores are going to be boom or bust. This case, I got busted, and I'm quite happy with that. My other decision was to play this bad team in Division 3 or Division 2. I mean, Division 2, the rewards are going to be better, but you risk getting relegated for your future teams, which is a perfect segue to say you need to know how your future teams are going to do. Do you have a crystal ball? Probably not. If you do, congratulations, you're going to do much better than me. But I try my best to make a crystal ball by doing some game week analysis. So obviously with a bad score here, putting them in Division 3 was the right option. We don't run the risk of relegation. But if you come back to the selections, you can sort of see, you know, the team was awful fixture-wise. The first team wasn't great either. As you start looking forward to game weeks, that's when you can start seeing, right, game week 4, or the next game week in this case, that was what I was targeting. Look how many green fixtures you've got. You know, this is all my opinion. Aït-Nouri against Man United could be a red fixture to some of you. It could be a green fixture to some of you at the minute. Man United can't win a game. They did win the last game on pen, so maybe that's not true. But you guys know what I mean. It's like they're struggling, but also Man City is struggling. I obviously made this, I think, the colour system before that game, before Man City lost. I think it was between Saturday and Sunday, so after the Man United game, before the Man City game. And this gives you so many benefits, you know, helping understand depth, you know, who's coming back. You know, you should probably add something like maybe italic to... Actually, I add italic for the out-of-season cards. So maybe you just add a star next to someone like Palmer who might not be there. So then you've got to assess, right, in that scenario, Wobie can drop in, and then we're looking at Pickford or a Keane. So it just really helps with planning. And immediately you're probably looking at Man City away for Bruno Fernandes, because Leeds is a great fixture. Not forgetting, I also have Pickford at home to Aston Villa. Aston Villa, one of the most unpredictable packages for me at the minute. You know, Emi Martinez expected to leave, now stayed. Is he playing next game week? Harvey Elliott's joined. You know, I really rate him as a talent. Does he step straight in? Outside of that, it's a very similar team to who played last week, who lost again. So, yeah, it's it got embarrassed by Crystal Palace. So maybe Pickford is a lot better selection than I realised. So what you do in this case is drop Pickford in and Van Dijk instead. So yeah, at this minute I'm thinking Pickford. Yeah, I'm literally live just realising better selections. So if you say Pickford comes in here, just looking at the colour system here, we've gone one, you know, orangey red in the form of Aït-Nouri. If you chuck in VVD, Van Dijk, he's going to be away to Burnley. That looks like a better team already for me. Especially, I don't know if I spoke about this before, but if you are going to have a weakest position it should be in goal. Because when they do pop off, that's your differential that just flies you up the league. I don't actually think this is my best selection in terms of how I lined up the teams, because now the game weeks are out, you can start planning again. I do think it's important to sort of draft a couple of times your best teams to get the best out of them, assess with stats closer to the time, so you know who's likely to play, things like that. But at the minute, I've drafted Pickford all the way into my first team for the exact reason I just said, that this team's very strong. Well, I don't like the Aït-Nouri Fernandes thing, but this team is strong. If you keep it like this, or let's say you strengthen it even more, Jordan Pickford, if he keeps a clean sheet, will be in your 80s, 90s, just because Villa are going to attack. So that's sort of how I'm looking. And already I'm looking to do another draft, because this is where you can only draft so much. But to me, right off the back, I love stacking, but in this case, I don't think it's a best option. Basically, Aït-Nouri against United, one of them's going to do bad. It's very unlikely that they're both going to get decisive actions. One being Fernandes is now a sort of box-to-box midfielder, and Aït-Nouri is like a wing back. So for the opposite teams both to get one, it gets very unlikely. So maybe you're looking at something like this, and you're saying, I'm putting a lot of pressure on Fernandes, but all he needs is a long ball, a penalty, a cross from a corner. That's, possible. Alternatively, you put your cards on Aït-Nouri at City, who's probably better, and then you're looking at someone like Rice. Now, I can go out and strengthen midfield. This is where I'm glad I lost my hot streaks early, or, the 5x hot streaks, because now I can start looking long term. Maybe the way I should have been looking the whole time, because those initial hot streaks were hard to get. Who's letting you down in the next two fixtures? It would most likely be Fernandes, away to City, away to Chelsea. Immediately, let's jump in, let's strengthen, because we've got money in the bank. We did, if you've seen, we crafted Kelleher, and we sold, I think it was Matt Turner, just a card that was vaulted. I've unvaulted. £139. Now, I don't want, my problem at the minute is I'm really after star cards. I just think they're so fixture proof. Like, Rodrigo can play against anyone. £317 seems a great price as well. But then, like some of you at home, you probably get pulled in so many different directions of, okay, do you want a star? Do you want depth? Do you try an essence craft and see what that brings you? Do you get a sort of middle-of-the-road guy where he's going to perform really good against weak teams? Do you go for collection bonus? Do you sort of, pressure that in and say, well, an extra 1% on my star card and my midfielder is going to be good? Do you go for correlation? So, a lot of my teams all over the place at the minute, they play for different teams. I do have mini stacks. So I do like to, say like Liverpool. I'm missing a Liverpool midfielder, like an attacking midfielder, and then I can drop in Wirtz and Salah, and it sort of all fits together perfectly. Then I lose a 2% bonus. I'm really keen on that 2% bonus. So, yeah, I've obviously thought about this a lot. I don't really have an answer. I like Enzo Fernandez. He boosts Palmer. He keeps my 2%. Pretty nailed. Reece James could come into midfield for a couple of games, but yeah, probably more than happy for him to sit out and just stay fit. Problem is, you're looking in season 261, 265. You're about, 60 quid away from just getting Rodri. And Rodri's so much more reliable. What about Caicedo? I didn't actually consider him, because this guy is very reliable like Rodri. Yeah. Yikes. Won't. Ooh, 300. Dave selling one. Still, I'm at less than half of the money there, which means I'm transferring in a lot of big classic cards, which we need to talk about, because for me, it would be the game week before. These Champion Classic competitions aren't anywhere as good as I thought. They said they boosted rewards, but I don't really think that's true in reality. I think you're playing a lot more cards for no real upside. Look, maybe I'm just saying this because I haven't won anything, and deservedly so, you know. I've not been close, whatever. But when I've looked at the leaderboards before, yeah, it's just so stack heavy. It's like, right, Leipzig and Bayern, okay, right. A lot of them have just been Barca stacks, and this week was slightly better because Bayern conceded, so you would need to split up your stacks. And stackings aren't, you know, the whole problem. Like I said before, if I'm allowed 7 stars, why isn't someone allowed 7 good players from the same team? I would argue because they get a 5% bonus, and it's not fantasy football just to roll out a whole team of the same club. It's supposed to be like choice and selection, and you have a limiting factor and things like this. So I'd be happy if there was no collection bonus, but I would also be annoyed if they took away collection bonus. So for me, the answer is a maximum amount of cards in Champion, Classic, you know, all the Classic competitions from the same club. It would probably annoy a few people. It would probably be better for the actual game, but it's probably not important enough to rock the boat for at the minute, which is also what I've been asking for. And Sorare this season so far have been providing consistency, keeping the rules, only bringing sort of positive changes in the form of promotions and things like that. One thing I want to touch on is contender. I am so annoyed. Just this Kawasaki team finally score 5 goals. I get a late assist and goal scorer, and Samuel Lino puts up a 39, which is fine. These things happen. Do you know what Samuel Lino put up the week before when all of them had a stinker? Let me show you. Samuel Lino put up 100. 100 points after we had 2 DNPs. We needed... I must have sold someone here, but we needed like 20 points. So we just needed one of the DMPs to get on the pitch. This guy was benched as well and was 80% likely to start, and I bought him for that game week. This is the sort of luck I've been up against at the start of the season. We've had star players injured. We've had star players underperforming. We've missed 2 huge Essence crafts. Massively overplayed for some cards. Even my cheap stacks are just not clicking. And that is the game. You know, it's not me complaining. It's just... I suppose it is me complaining a bit, but it's not woe is me. It's just annoying. But like we said, looking forward... We are trying to be more positive. We're trying to gain that edge. We're not just willy-nilly punting 1,000 Essence into international fixtures. We are planning our Premier League teams and planning for the future. Now, I hope this has been helpful to you guys. There's a link in the description if you want to support the channel. But besides that, drop a like and yeah, all the best to you. Cheers.